Okay, we start with the arcade games. And here's the first couple, Defender / Stargate, Williams, 1980/81. I met this merciless but exhilarating game at a car repair shop or something. In the 1982 springtime, I had been brought along on one of those errands that a kid often has to endure. The cabinet was the only interesting thing in the lobby, but I didn't play, as my father didn't have a quarter, or time to wait around, perhaps. I thought it was funny that the attraction mode's character diagram, as it were, looked like a cast listing, even though it featured exotic aliens and unrecognizable spaceships. It's probably just meant to be a scoring guide or something, but at the time I found it hilarious, as though it were satirically asking, "Remember all your old friends from Saturday morning? Mutant. Bummer." During yet another errand about a month later, I finally tried out Eugene Jarvis and Larry DeMar's celebrated beast in a Safeway grocery store on Albuquerque's west side. I immediately dropped in the quarter that my mother had given me and started the game, making the typical inexperienced player mistake of not reading or watching the instructions first. I was just anxious to blow something up. I shot a few enemies, tried to figure out how the scanner worked, enjoyed the vibrant graphics, and complained to myself a bit about the controls, which boasted an unprecedented degree of complexity. I didn't realize how much precision they actually grant. I read "Game Over" within something like 30 seconds. Damn, this one's hard. I watched the demonstration until I learned that I could shoot the landers as they rose with their humanoid hostages, catch the hostages as they fell, and return them to the hills below. If any lander made it to the top, he'd merge with his captive and become a mutant. What cool ideas! Frantic to play again now that I knew how, I found Mom in one of the aisles and pled in vain for another quarter. I didn't get to play the game again until the entire 4th grade went on a field trip to Chuck E. Cheese's Pizza Time Theater a few weeks later. I don't remember how well I played, but on the same visit I first tackled Red Baron, Missile Command, and Asteroids itself. I had only played Deluxe. It was also when I seriously decked another kid in the face for the first time. He had attempted to steal my token from where I had innocently left it on the Missile Command control panel during my game. Apart from that, though, it was obviously one of the greatest field trips of all time. Defender is the earliest game in which events take place beyond the screen area, as far as I know, and the first to involve my favorite type of horizontal scrolling. You control it. The player's ship can fly to either direction and can even stop and hover. It's not a forced scrolling wallpaper shooting gallery. These days, I sometimes find the more appealing game to be the sequel, Stargate, whose home versions were renamed Defender 2, incidentally, just after the machine's manufacture ceased. I guess Williams wanted to ensure its ownership of the title Stargate, over which a potential dispute was evidently a concern. The lackluster MGM film of the same name would not appear until '94. Now, one can never fail to recognize the beautiful purity and dexterous grace of the original, but to play the later game well, which is harder, the player has to vary his strategy more radically from enemy to enemy than in any prior arcade game. Stargate's very structure also provides variety, as every 5th wave is a special one, predominantly containing a single enemy type. As in the first game, waves 6, 11, etc., are occasions of complete humanoid repopulation. Those people breed fast when they're celebrating your victories. Now, as far as I can determine, the sequel is also the oldest game to include what amounts to a warp zone. If you're carrying at least 4 humanoids when you fly into the Stargate itself, which normally teleports you halfway around the planet, unless there's an abduction in progress, in which case you'll appear at the scene of the crime, you'll warp 3 waves ahead and earn all corresponding points. This can be executed only once, but it works during any wave through the 10th. The landers are so nervous about your return in Stargate that they've sprouted zits. And then there's that awesome Inviso power, which renders your ship invincible and lethal, as if your arsenal weren't irresistibly destructive enough, considering its screen-clearing smart bombs and the allure-crucial ability to fire your lasers at lightning speed. both happily held over from Defender. Jarvis and DeMar's Vid Kids, with a Z, because it was the 80s, development team certainly knew how to make the player feel powerful. The enemies even explode into gratifyingly sprawling clusters of debris dots. And good riddance, you mean slimy things. Thank you for dying. Have a nicely shortened day. You've been killed by Chris. If you've enjoyed this death, you may enjoy our several million other deaths in various games. Of course, the player can't entirely dismiss the possibility that by trying to be Mr. Hero, he's hurting more than helping. The humanoids might want to be mutated, as they haven't even evolved enough to work out how to build houses. Alright, the next game will be Elevator Action.